When you think of Cuba, what comes to mind first? White sandy beaches, vintage cars rolling through Havana, or maybe the rhythm of salsa music drifting through the night? But here's something most people don't realize. Cuba is also home to some of the most stunning birds on Earth found nowhere else. In this video, we'll take you on a journey through the skies, forests, and swamps of Cuba to meet 15 beautiful and rare species that exist only here. These birds are living jewels, tiny hummingbirds that glitter like emeralds, owls so small they could fit in your hand, and even a national bird whose colors perfectly match the Cuban flag. Here's a fun thought. Did you know that some of Cuba's birds are found only in one tiny region of the island? So rare that seeing them feels like stepping into a secret world? It's true, and today, you'll get to meet them all. So before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments. Which Cuban bird do you think will take your breath away? Let's start with Cuba's proud national treasure. A bird so dazzling it carries the colors of the nation itself, the Cuban Trogon. What bird could possibly represent an entire nation with its colors? In Cuba, that honor belongs to the Cuban Trogon, or Tocororo, the national bird whose plumage shines in red, white, and blue, the very colors of the Cuban flag. The Cuban Trogon is a vision of tropical beauty. Its head and back shimmer in shades of deep blue-green, its chest glows pure white, and its belly burns bright crimson. Add in a long tail tipped with delicate feathers that flare like ribbons, and you have a bird that seems painted by an artist with the boldest palette. But beauty isn't the only reason it was chosen as Cuba's national bird. The Tocororo is also a symbol of freedom. Locals say it cannot survive in captivity. If trapped, it soon withers and dies. That unbreakable spirit made it the perfect emblem of Cuban identity, independence, and resilience. You'll find Cuban Trogons in forests across the island, especially in lush woodlands and coffee plantations. Their call, to-co-ro-ro, which gave them their name, echoes through the trees with a rolling, musical rhythm that's as Cuban as the beat of a drum. Here's a fun fact. Unlike many other national birds chosen for their rarity, the Cuban Trogon is fairly common across the island. This means almost anyone from Havana to the Sierra Maestra Mountains has the chance to glimpse this feathered flag come to life. Picture yourself walking a shaded Cuban trail when suddenly a flash of red, white, and blue bursts through the canopy. For a moment, it feels as if the flag itself has taken flight. Would you raise your camera or just stand still, soaking in a bird that carries a nation on its wings? From this proud national symbol, let's glide to another Cuban jewel, one of the smallest and most dazzling creatures in the Caribbean skies, the shimmering Cuban Emerald. What if you could hold a living jewel in your hand, one that sparkles brighter than any gemstone? That's the magic of the Cuban Emerald, a hummingbird so dazzling it seems more like a fragment of the tropics come to life than an ordinary bird. The Cuban Emerald is tiny, barely 4 inches long, but it makes up for its size with sheer brilliance. Its feathers shimmer in brilliant shades of green, catching the sunlight and flashing like a cut emerald. Males glow with especially vivid colors, while females wear subtler tones. Yet both radiate a beauty that feels almost unreal. With wings that beat up to 80 times a second, they hover in midair, sipping nectar from hibiscus, bougainvillea, and the countless flowers that make Cuba's landscapes bloom. You'll find these hummingbirds across the island, from gardens in Havana to mountain forests in Oriente. Unlike some rare birds that hide in remote corners, the Cuban Emerald is generous with its beauty, often visiting backyard feeders or darting fearlessly among blossoms just feet from people. Their energy is infectious. Watching one hover, dart, and dive feels like seeing pure joy on wings. Here's a fun fact. Despite their delicate size, Cuban emeralds are fierce defenders of their feeding territories. They'll chase away rivals, even birds larger than themselves, in a flurry of buzzing wings and sharp chirps. For such a tiny creature, they carry an outsized spirit. Hummingbirds also play an essential role in Cuba's ecosystems. As they sip nectar, they pollinate flowers, ensuring that the vibrant tropical plants around them continue to thrive. In a way, these little emeralds are not only beautiful, they are gardeners of the island itself. Picture yourself sitting on a Cuban veranda with a cup of coffee, when a sudden flash of green hovers inches from your face. The bird's wings blur, its eyes shine, and then, just as quickly, it vanishes in a streak of light. Would you laugh at the encounter or sit in silence, marveling at the jewel that just visited you? From this glittering emerald of the skies, let's turn to something bolder and louder. The rhythmic tapping of Cuba's very own drummer, the bright and lively Cuban green woodpecker. Have you ever heard the sound of nature's drummer echoing through a tropical forest? In Cuba, that rhythm often comes from the Cuban green woodpecker, a bird whose bright colors and lively spirit make it impossible to ignore. This woodpecker is a vision of tropical vibrance. Its plumage glows in shades of bright green, yellow, and black, with males sporting a fiery red crown like a splash of paint on the forest canvas. It's smaller than many woodpeckers found elsewhere, but what it lacks in size, it makes up for in personality and charm. When sunlight filters through the canopy and catches its feathers, the Cuban green woodpecker looks almost like a flying emerald streaking between the trees. Endemic to Cuba, it can be found from forests to gardens, adapting easily to both wild and human-shaped landscapes. True to its woodpecker nature, it drills into tree trunks with rapid bursts, not only to feed on insects but also to signal its presence. That sharp drumming sound acts like its own signature, echoing far and wide. Here's a fun fact. Unlike many other woodpeckers, the Cuban green woodpecker often nests in colonies. Several pairs may choose to raise their chicks in the same tree, creating a bustling neighborhood of tapping, calling, and fluttering wings. For locals, these noisy gatherings are part of the living soundtrack of the countryside. Their diet is as varied as their personalities. They feast on ants, beetles, fruits, and even the occasional lizard, making them key players in balancing Cuba's ecosystems. Watching one cling upside down to a palm trunk while hammering away is as entertaining as it is impressive. Picture yourself walking a Cuban forest trail when suddenly the quiet is broken by a rhythmic tap, tap, tap. You look up to see a flash of green and red darting among the trees. Would you pause to enjoy the music of the forest? Or keep walking, wondering what secret performance you just overheard? From this colorful percussionist of the tropics, we now glide into the lively chatter of a bird that fills Cuba's skies with sound, the rare and raucous Cuban parakeet. What bird could possibly rival Cuba's tropical music with a chorus all its own? Enter the Cuban parakeet, a small but lively parrot whose calls and colors brighten the island's skies. The Cuban parakeet is covered in rich green plumage with splashes of red on the throat, belly, and wing edges. Its slender body and long tail give it a graceful silhouette, but it's the bird's voice that captures attention first. Parakeets travel in noisy flocks, filling the air with sharp, rolling calls that can be heard long before the birds appear overhead. In rural Cuba, their sounds are as much a part of the landscape as the rustling of palm trees. Sadly, this beauty is now rare. Once widespread, the Cuban parakeet has declined due to habitat loss and the illegal pet trade. Today, it is considered vulnerable, with strongholds only in protected areas like Zapata Swamp and Sierra del Rosario. Spotting one in the wild is like hearing an echo from Cuba's past. Here's a fun fact. Cuban parakeets are highly social not just in flight, but in family life too. They often nest in colonies with many pairs raising their chicks side by side in hollow trees. Imagine the lively chatter of dozens of young parakeets begging for food. It's like a tropical nursery full of energy. Their diet is equally colorful, consisting of seeds, fruits, and blossoms. When feeding in orchards, they sometimes descend in large flocks, turning entire trees into green clouds alive with fluttering wings. For farmers, it can be a nuisance, but for bird lovers, it's an unforgettable spectacle. Picture yourself in the Cuban countryside on a warm afternoon. Suddenly, you hear a rising chorus of sharp calls. Looking up, you see a flock of bright green parakeets sweep across the blue sky, their wings catching the sunlight. Would you rush for your camera or simply smile, letting the sound and color wash over you? From these chattering gems of the skies, we move to a bird with a more elegant wardrobe, black and gold feathers that gleam like fine jewelry. Next up is the Cuban oriole. What bird could wear the colors of sunshine and shadow at the same time? That's the Cuban oriole, a striking songbird that looks as if it dressed itself in gold and black silk. The Cuban oriole is medium-sized, with a glossy black body and bright yellow patches that blaze on its belly, shoulders, and rump. Against the green backdrop of Cuba's forests and gardens, it glows like a lantern. These birds often perch high in palms or tall trees, their melodic whistles carrying across the breeze. Hearing one sing on a warm Caribbean morning feels like listening to the island itself greet the day. Endemic to Cuba, the oriole has adapted well to both wild and human-altered landscapes. You might spot one in rural coconut groves, roadside trees, or mangrove edges. Wherever they go, they bring a flash of color and a burst of sound. Here's a fun fact. Unlike some birds that build small, hidden nests, the Cuban oriole weaves long, hanging pouches out of plant fibers. These dangling nests sway from palm fronds or tree branches, often clustered together in loose colonies. Watching a pair of orioles tug and twist fibers into shape is like seeing master artisans at work. Despite their elegance, Cuban orioles are feisty defenders of their territory. They'll chase away much larger birds that wander too close, proving that beauty and boldness can go hand in hand. Imagine sitting beneath a palm tree on a breezy afternoon. Above you, a golden and black bird hops along a branch, pausing to let out a rich, clear whistle. Sunlight catches its feathers, turning it into a moving jewel. Would you close your eyes to savor the song, or follow it with binoculars trying to get one more glimpse? From this golden singer of the trees, we move to another Cuban gem, smaller in size but bursting with personality, the western spindleless, a bird so colorful it looks like someone spilled a box of crayons across its feathers. What bird could possibly carry the colors of a Caribbean carnival on its feathers? Meet the western spindleless, one of Cuba's most vibrant little songbirds. The western spindleless may be small, but its plumage is a masterpiece. Males wear a striking black and white striped head, with a bold orange throat and chest, green back, and yellow belly. It's as if every bright hue of the tropics has been packed into one tiny bird. Females are softer in tone, olive and gray, but no less elegant. Together, they bring a splash of tropical sunshine to Cuba's forests and gardens. Spindleless are versatile in their habits. They live in a variety of habitats, from lowland groves to mountain forests, feeding on fruits, seeds, and insects. Their fondness for berries makes them frequent visitors in gardens, where they often perch conspicuously, offering birdwatchers close views. When they move in small groups, their flashes of orange, yellow, and green create bursts of color among the leaves. Here's a fun fact. The western spindleless was once considered just a local variety of another bird, but scientists later recognized it as a distinct species in its own right. That means Cuba doesn't just share its beauty, it owns it. Their song is a soft, warbling melody, not as powerful as some birds, but sweet enough to add music to their already colorful presence. For many Cubans, the sight of a spindalis perched on a fruiting tree is a simple joy of daily life. Picture yourself wandering through a Cuban orchard. The sun is warm, the air smells of ripe guava, and suddenly you spot a flash of orange and yellow flitting between branches. A small bird pauses, tilts its striped head, and lets out a gentle call. Would you stop to savor the rainbow, or keep walking, unaware of the tiny carnival above your head? From this cheerful rainbow of the orchards, we turn to another small bird, less flashy but just as charming, whose cheerful calls and tiny size make it one of Cuba's hidden jewels, the Cuban grassquit. What if one of Cuba's tiniest birds carried a personality so bold it could rival the brightest parrots? That's the charm of the Cuban grassquit, a little gem with a voice and presence far bigger than its size. The Cuban grassquit is a small passerine, barely the size of a sparrow, but it stands out with striking plumage. Males wear a black head and throat framed by bright yellow on the chest and sides, while the rest of the body is olive green. Females are subtler, yet still carry that splash of sunshine yellow that makes the species unmistakable. Despite their size, these birds glow against the green of Cuba's fields and gardens. Grassquits are social creatures. They gather in flocks, often darting through tall grasses or low shrubs in search of seeds and insects. Their movements are quick, jittery, and cheerful, like sparks of color flashing in the undergrowth. And while they may look delicate, they're hardy birds that thrive across Cuba, from coastal scrublands to rural farmland. Here's a fun fact. The name Canora means melodious, and for good reason. The Cuban grassquit has a sweet, high-pitched song that seems to bubble up like laughter. For centuries, Cubans have admired its cheerful voice, and in some places, it was even kept as a cage bird for its song. Though today, conservation efforts stress the importance of leaving them wild, where they belong. Seeing a grassquit in the wild feels like discovering a pocket of sunshine. Imagine walking through a Cuban meadow when a tiny bird hops onto a stalk of grass, tipping it under its weight, and then bursts into song. Would you bend closer to admire its bravery, or smile at how such a small creature can fill the air with joy? From this bright spark of Cuba's grasslands, we now move east to the forests of Oriente, where another small bird waits, one with elegance in its movements and a song that belongs only to this corner of the island, the Oriente warbler. What bird could be so tied to one place that even its name marks it forever? That's the Oriente warbler, a charming little songbird found only in eastern Cuba, where it flits through the forest like a streak of sunshine. The Oriente warbler is small, but eye-catching. Its soft gray back contrasts with a bright yellow throat and chest, giving it a cheerful look. Add in a white belly and sharp black eyes, and you have a bird that seems to glow against the deep greens of the Cuban canopy. Though modest compared to a parrot or a trogon, its beauty lies in its delicate simplicity. These warblers are active foragers, darting quickly through low branches and shrubs in search of insects and spiders. Their movements are restless, their tails flicking constantly as they hop from twig to twig. To see one is to witness a spark of life weaving its way through the forest undergrowth. Here's a fun fact. The Oriente warbler belongs to a small family of birds found only in Cuba and nearby islands. Scientists once struggled to classify it, since it didn't quite fit with typical warblers. That uniqueness only adds to its charm. It's a bird that truly belongs to Cuba and nowhere else. Their song is soft but persistent, a series of high-pitched notes that seem to ripple through the leaves. For people living in eastern Cuba, it's part of the daily soundtrack of nature, blending with the rustle of palms and the buzz of insects. Picture yourself hiking a trail in Cuba's Sierra Maestra Mountains. Suddenly, a small gray and yellow bird darts across your path, pausing just long enough to let out a sweet series of notes before vanishing back into the foliage. Would you follow it deeper into the forest, or simply treasure the brief encounter? From this understated jewel of the East, we now meet a bird with a bigger voice and a reputation for its bold personality, the lively Las Sagras flycatcher. What bird could announce its presence with such a loud, sharp call that you'd swear the forest itself was shouting at you? Meet Las Sagras flycatcher, a lively Cuban native that fills the air with its distinctive voice. This medium-sized flycatcher wears a subtle but handsome outfit. Its back and wings are soft brown, while the belly glows pale yellow. A strong, slightly crested head and upright posture give it a confident look, as if it knows it runs the show. It may not shimmer like a hummingbird, but when you hear it call, you'll remember it. Las Sagras flycatcher is most often found in woodlands, gardens, and mangroves across Cuba. Perched high on exposed branches, it watches for flying insects, then darts out in quick, precise sallies to snatch them from the air. This hunting style is both efficient and thrilling to watch, as the bird zips back to its perch with expert timing. Here's a fun fact. Las Sagras flycatcher is named after Ramón de la Sagra, a 19th century Spanish naturalist who studied Cuba's rich flora and fauna. Having a bird named in his honor seems fitting, since this flycatcher is such a vocal representative of the island's avian diversity. Its call is sharp and insistent. Some describe it as a whip sound that rings through forests and parks. Locals often know the bird by ear before they see it. For many Cubans, its call is part of the daily rhythm of life, a sound that punctuates mornings and evenings alike. Imagine yourself in a Cuban garden, the air warm and still, when suddenly a bold, piercing call cuts through the quiet. You look up, and there it is, perched proudly, tail flicking, ready to launch after its next insect. Would you smile at its confidence, or cover your ears, wondering how such a small bird can be so loud? From this bold voice of the forest, we now move to a bird dressed in striking black and red, one that carries the flair of Cuba in its plumage, the Cuban Bullfinch. What bird could embody the bold spirit of Cuba with feathers as dramatic as a flamenco dancer's costume? That honor belongs to the Cuban Bullfinch, a striking songbird dressed in black and red. The Cuban Bullfinch is medium-sized, with glossy black plumage covering most of its body. But the real show begins when you see its throat and belly, flaming crimson that shines like embers against the dark. It's a combination of elegance and fire, the kind of contrast that makes you stop and stare. Males are the most vivid, though females share the same pattern in subtler tones. Endemic to Cuba, these birds can be found in forests, thickets, and even gardens, where they forage for fruits, seeds, and insects. They are sturdy little birds hopping through branches with a purposeful energy. Their strong bills allow them to crack seeds with ease, and their bright colors make them stand out even when surrounded by lush greenery. Here's a fun fact. The Cuban Bullfinch is not only beautiful, but also tough. Despite its fiery look, it has adapted well to different habitats across the island, from coastal scrub to mountain slopes. This resilience reflects the very spirit of Cuba itself, bold, enduring, and vibrant. Their song is a series of whistles and chirps, not as elaborate as some other Cuban songbirds, but charming in its simplicity. To many locals, the bullfinch is a familiar backyard visitor, one that adds color and character to daily life. Picture yourself walking through a Cuban village at sunset. A flash of red catches your eye in a fruiting tree. A black and red bird perches proudly, the fading light glowing against its feathers. Would you think of it as a symbol of passion, or simply marvel at the unexpected beauty perched just a few feet away? From this fiery jewel of the island, we now turn to a bird that wears a darker cloak of mystery. A sleek and intelligent species that shows another side of Cuba's avian story, the Cuban crow. What if I told you that even Cuba's crows carry a unique flair found nowhere else? Meet the Cuban crow, a sleek black bird that proves beauty can come in the most unexpected forms. At first glance, the Cuban crow might look like other crows. Dark plumage, strong bill, intelligent eyes. But a closer look reveals its distinctiveness. Its feathers shine with a subtle purple gloss in the sunlight, giving it an elegant sheen. Its long, slightly curved bill sets it apart, a feature that looks almost aristocratic compared to its relatives. Endemic to Cuba, this crow thrives in forests, farmlands, and coastal areas. It is highly social, often seen in groups, flying with strong wing beats and calling with a voice that can range from harsh caws to surprisingly musical notes. In fact, its vocal variety is one of its most fascinating traits. Some calls sound almost like laughter, others like whistles, giving the Cuban countryside an unusual soundtrack. Here's a fun fact. Cuban crows are exceptionally clever. They've been observed using tools, working together to find food, and even mimicking sounds. For centuries, crows have been symbols of mystery and intelligence, and Cuba's own version only adds to that legacy with its distinctive voice and style. Their diet is flexible, from fruits and seeds to insects and small animals, which makes them adaptable survivors. Farmers sometimes view them as crop raiders, but they also play a role in cleaning up waste and dispersing seeds. Imagine walking along a Cuban coastal road when a group of glossy black birds swoops overhead. One lets out a call that sounds strangely like a laugh, and you pause, wondering if you really just heard a crow chuckle at you. Would you smile at its cleverness or shiver at its uncanny voice? From this clever trickster in black, we move to something much smaller and far cuter. An owl so tiny it could sit in the palm of your hand, the Cuban pygmy owl. What if one of Cuba's fiercest hunters was small enough to fit in the palm of your hand? That's the Cuban pygmy owl, a tiny predator with a giant personality. The Cuban pygmy owl measures barely 7 inches tall, making it one of the smallest owls in the Caribbean. Yet its compact body carries all the trademarks of a raptor: sharp talons, hooked beak, and eyes that glow with determination. Its plumage is soft brown, flecked with white spots, giving it perfect camouflage against tree bark. But don't let the size fool you. This little owl is all business. Unlike many owls that come alive only at night, the Cuban pygmy owl is often active during the day. You might spot one perched quietly in a garden or forest edge, surveying the scene before darting off to snatch a lizard, insect, or even a small bird. Their flight is fast and direct, a burst of energy that takes prey by surprise. Here's a fun fact. The Cuban pygmy owl has false eyes on the back of its head, dark spots that look like a second pair of eyes. These markings confuse predators, making them think the owl is always watching. It's a clever trick for such a small bird. Despite their size, pygmy owls are bold. They've been known to chase away birds much larger than themselves, showing no hesitation when defending their territory. For birdwatchers, spotting one feels like discovering a hidden treasure, because their stillness makes them blend into the foliage until they suddenly spring into action. Picture yourself standing in a Cuban forest clearing. A small brown bird sits motionless on a branch, almost invisible, until it turns its head, revealing those piercing eyes. Would you lean closer in delight at its tiny frame, or step back, surprised by the intensity in such a small package? From this pint-sized powerhouse, we now turn to its larger and darker cousin, an owl wrapped in mystery with a name as shadowy as its presence, the Stygian owl. What bird could carry a name straight out of mythology? Meet the Stygian owl, a rare and mysterious species whose very name comes from the river Styx, the legendary boundary between Earth and the underworld. The Stygian owl is large and striking, with long ear tufts that stand tall above its head, giving it an imposing silhouette. Its dark plumage is mottled with browns and blacks, blending seamlessly into the forest shadows. But what truly captures attention are its glowing yellow eyes, piercing, unblinking, and unforgettable when caught in the beam of a flashlight at night. In Cuba, the Stygian owl is found in dense forests, mangroves, and swamp edges. It is a nocturnal hunter, emerging silently after dusk to prey on bats, small birds, and rodents. Few experiences compare to walking in the Cuban countryside and suddenly hearing its deep, booming hoots echo through the darkness. Here's a fun fact. While most owls avoid bats, the Stygian owl specializes in catching them mid-flight. Researchers have documented it swooping through caves and forest clearings with incredible agility, proving that even the night's most elusive creatures aren't safe from its sharp talons. Because of its rarity and secretive habits, sightings are treasured by birdwatchers. Some locals even whisper that hearing its call is a sign of mystery or mischief lurking in the night. Whether seen as ominous or awe-inspiring, the Stygian owl holds a special place in Cuba's natural folklore. Picture yourself standing at the edge of Zapata swamp at midnight. The air is heavy, insects hum, and then, from the shadows, a haunting hoot rolls across the water. You catch a glimpse of 2 glowing eyes staring back at you. Would you feel a shiver of fear or gratitude for witnessing one of the island's rarest hunters? From this shadowy master of the night, we now turn to a songbird of daylight, endangered, delicate, and found only in Cuba's most fragile habitats, the Zapata sparrow. What if one of the rarest birds in the Caribbean lived only in one of the most mysterious wetlands on Earth? That's the story of the Zapata sparrow, a fragile jewel clinging to survival in Cuba's legendary Zapata swamp. The Zapata sparrow may not dazzle with bright tropical colors, but its beauty lies in its subtlety. Its plumage is a mix of gray, yellow, and brown, blending perfectly into the grasses and reeds where it lives. A faint yellow wash across its chest and face adds a quiet glow, like sunlight breaking through mist. To see one is to glimpse a creature perfectly matched to its secretive home. Endemic to Cuba, this species is critically endangered, with populations limited to just a few regions, including Zapata Swamp, Cayo Coco, and Guantanamo. Habitat loss from agriculture and development has pushed it closer to extinction, making every sighting precious. Birdwatchers from around the world travel to Cuba for the chance, sometimes just a fleeting one, to see this sparrow in the wild. Here's a fun fact. Unlike most sparrows, which are often associated with open fields or urban spaces, the Zapata sparrow has adapted to several unique habitats across the island. In Zapata, it favors freshwater marshes. In Cayo Coco, it thrives in coastal scrub. And in Guantanamo, it lives in dry thorn forests. 3 distinct homes for one species, a rare versatility that shows its will to survive. Its song is soft and sweet, a delicate trilling that floats above the reeds. Imagine standing knee-deep in marsh grasses, the air buzzing with insects, when suddenly a quiet, golden note drifts across the swamp. That fleeting melody belongs to a bird that few will ever see, but those who do never forget. The Zapata sparrow is more than a bird. It's a symbol of Cuba's fragile ecosystems and the urgent need to protect them. Would you travel deep into the swamp for the chance to see one? And now, from one endangered jewel to another, we close our Cuban journey with perhaps the rarest of them all, the Zapata wren, a bird that exists nowhere else on Earth. What if I told you the rarest voice in Cuba belongs to a bird so secretive it lives only in one swamp, in one country, on one island in the world? That's the story of the Zapata wren, the final treasure of our journey. The Zapata wren is small, plain at first glance, brown above, paler below, with faint streaks. Nothing flashy, no bold reds or greens. But don't be fooled. This bird's true beauty lies in its song. The Zapata wren sings with a bright, cascading melody that pours out across the reeds, rising and falling in notes that feel impossibly large for such a tiny body. In the stillness of the swamp, its voice is nothing short of magical. Found only in the vast Zapata swamp of southern Cuba, this species is critically endangered. Its entire world is tied to one ecosystem, dense marshes of sawgrass and reeds that stretch for miles. Habitat loss, invasive species, and climate change all threaten its survival, making every sighting an extraordinary privilege. Here's a fun fact. The Zapata wren was only discovered in 1926, making it a relatively new addition to science. Since then, it has become one of the most sought-after birds for naturalists and birdwatchers. Not because of its looks, but because of its rarity and haunting voice. Imagine yourself standing ankle-deep in water, surrounded by endless reeds. The air is heavy, the swamp is alive with insects, and then you hear it. A clear, beautiful cascade of notes, like a secret being whispered through the marsh. You scan the reeds desperately, but the bird remains hidden, its song the only proof of its presence. Would you feel frustrated not seeing it, or humbled just to hear the voice of a species found nowhere else on Earth? The Zapata wren is more than a bird. It is Cuba's reminder that even the smallest voices matter, and that protecting fragile places means protecting irreplaceable wonders. And with this elusive singer of the swamps, we bring our Cuban adventure to a close. 15 stunning and rare birds, each carrying a piece of the island's soul in feather and song. And there you have it, 15 of the most beautiful and rare birds of Cuba, each one a living jewel of this island nation. From the flag-colored brilliance of the Cuban Trogon, to the glittering emerald hummingbird, to the fiery bullfinch, and finally the elusive Zapata wren, these birds show us that Cuba is more than music, beaches, and vintage cars. It is also a sanctuary of life found nowhere else on Earth. What makes them truly special is not just their beauty, but their stories. Some symbols of national pride, some playful companions in gardens, and others fragile survivors holding on in the last corners of wild swamp and forest. Together, they remind us that nature is as much a part of Cuba's heritage as its culture and history. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with fellow bird lovers. And tell us in the comments which Cuban bird stole your heart today. Thank you for watching, and remember, wherever you travel, keep your eyes open. Beauty can take flight when you least expect it.